Good morning. It's the day after Christmas. Everybody's opening their presents, playing with them, but the dealers are back to work. It's Friday, December 26th. This is Automotive State Union. I'm Kyle. We're hanging out with Brian Benstock on our strategy sessions. All right, it's just me, your boy Paul. He's got too much, Christmas dinner, too many presents to check out. But we're getting into it. We're doing our 2026 strategy sessions for dealers. Really thankful for Mia, the sponsor of today's episode. 2 seconds. That's how fast Mia starts helping a customer. And yes, it is the fastest, most human conversational AI in automotive. Mia books service, checks inventory, handles reception, follows up by text, and she does it 24/7, 365 with zero hold time and zero drop calls. Dealers who use Mia capture more revenue and never miss a connection. Thanks for Mia for sponsoring today's episode. But hey, look, you're not here to listen to me. You're not here to wait on the day you got cars to sell. And so I want to get into it. We're going to bring Brian into this and just get his insight into, obviously we got a whole week. We got a crazy week left this week, plenty to focus on, but also thinking about 2026 as you round out the year. Brian, thanks for joining us today, man.
Great to be with you, Kyle. Good to see you.
You as well. All right. You started off on a trail before we got on, and I said, hey, what's the 2026 strategy? What are dealers going to see? And you kind of gave me this, it was a bit more theoretical. It was a bit more broad. Let's get into it.
Well, yeah, as Jim Rohn would say, the 2026, I can tell you what's going to happen with a certainty, right? It's going to be difficulty mixed with opportunities. And I think that's really what's going to happen. And from an overview point, I think Trump has been a very pro-automobile industry president. And I think the policies have been, for the most part, good for our industry. You could start out with some of the EPA rollbacks, which are going to give some of the manufacturers a little bit of a break on some of that stuff. By the way, Republicans like clean air too. It's not about having dirty air, but some of the heavy-handedness of the EPA telling, manufacturers they have to have some car average fuel economy, that the technology doesn't exist to create that overnight, or you're going to be fined. And I think that was a little bit too heavy-handed. So I think the OEMs are going to get a break. And after what they've been through with the BEV mandates and losing billions of dollars, I think they could use that. And remember, anything that helps the OEMs helps the American workers, helps the American economy. I'm not, hey, let's feel bad for the OEMs, but those are jobs. And as the automobile industry goes, so goes the American economy. So I think that's great. Right. Speaking of the American economy, we're getting information just today, right? Last week I think it was, that the inflation numbers are down, and I think that's fantastic. That means more money in people's pockets. They can maybe the pendulum has swung the other way.
Even jobless claims going down. So
yeah,
you see both.
So, what you've got, and I hate to talk about Reagan, but you've got this trickle-down economy going on. And I think Trump has done some great things to bring investment back into the U.S. That doesn't hit Main Street tomorrow. It takes a while for that to come in, but there's so much money coming in that it is going to benefit everybody. It's going to benefit the owner. It's going to benefit the management. It's going to benefit the sales teams. It's going to benefit the line workers. Everybody's going to benefit, and everybody benefits from lower inflation. The other part of that the prior administration they had a ramp up in interest rates, and interest rates are really a hidden tax on the poor because a lot of us and regular folks use borrowing. I'm a dealer. Right. We've got floor plan interest of millions and millions of dollars, and every point that those interest rates went up hurt the bottom line. And if you hurt the bottom line, it gets passed on to the consumers, or you lay off people. So, seeing Trump convince Powell to do something. I mean, he was standing on the guy's throat. And it was good to see, because again, interest rates impact everybody. And so the affordability factor is going to be helped by that. Inflation is going to be helped by that. Remember, automobile insurance has more than doubled, or is up 50%, over the past 4 years. That's another thing that was hurting our industry. President Trump's rolling back the $7,500 credit on EVs. Hallelujah! Why are taxpayers subsidizing battery electric vehicles? If the technology's better, then let that rule the day, right?
Let people buy that. Yeah.
Nobody had to subsidize my iPhone. It was just head and shoulders above what else was out there, and we gravitated towards that. And when battery electric vehicles are better head and shoulders over ICE vehicles, then consumers will vote with their wallets and they'll vote with their feet by migrating to that. And so I think that's also very good. Then bringing back a tax credit for automobile loans and giving customers a credit on the interest, I think that's fantastic.
Well, similar to mortgage, and we see that already replicated in mortgage, right?
100%. And again, it's making the affordability for those that are financing a car that much easier to bite that bullet. The other thing is he's allowing the smaller cars to come in from Europe. Right? Honda has a battery electric vehicle that's cute as a button, and it's got a very low price point. So if we want to impact the American consumer, then allow these vehicles to come into this country, make sure they pass all the safety regulations, yes, of course, but give us the opportunity. We hear about some of these Chinese brands that are $12,000 for a new car, $13,000. I think the other manufacturers can and will produce those cars, but heretofore they weren't allowed in this country. So let them come in and let the best teams win. I think that's fantastic.
So you've talked about a bunch of external market impact factors that obviously flow downstream to the dealer network. What are you encouraging dealers in your network right now to do in order to capitalize on this? Because if I'm hearing you right, you're bullish on the market's presence, the ability of the consumer to have spending power, to have buying power, and just like waiting for that to come in obviously isn't the option. What are the capitalization factors there?
Well, I think you've got to set up your fishing nets now, right? During low tide, and it's low tide, and when the tide comes in, you'll catch more fish. So it's time to prepare your teams for that. And our job as leaders is to have the vision to share this information with our team, so that their mojo's it for them to share it with the customers. Also, this is a great time to buy. Things are going in the right direction because we've got a divided country. Half the country thinks we're going in. Well, not half, but a lot of people didn't vote for Donald Trump, and he's there, and they want to be against everything. I want to keep people focused on the good that's happening. You don't have to like the man. That's not necessary. These policies, I think, are going to be good for the American people. I think they're going to be good for consumers. I think they're going to be good overall for automobile dealers.
You've been a champion of, ever since I've known you, you've been a champion of trade cycle management, and you've always been after this, like, how do we make sure that we can do, you mentioned your phone just a second ago, what telecom has become absolute experts at, and it seems like we're getting closer, if not all the way there, to really understanding and owning the trade cycle management. How should dealers be thinking about the technology needs and integration, the requirement for the customer?
A good friend of ours, Steve Greenfield, has this slide in his presentations, and it's got no less than 500 vendors on it. And I sit there and I look at that, and I know all of them. I think I'm paying most of them. But the reality is that those vendors don't play well together. They don't integrate well together. In fact, they have toll booths often to prevent the free flow of information. And I think integration is evolution's new frontier. I think that integration now, getting somebody that does appraisals with data mining and putting them together, gets you one step closer to trade cycle management as you understand the trade cycle of the customer. But if one guy is controlling the equity position, and the other guy is controlling the data, the appraisal, and they're not talking to each other, how are you going to be alerted to the trade cycle? When's the right time? And wouldn't it be great if all of a sudden you're getting, hey, these 700 customers can trade out of this car into another car and complete the cycle. Now, here, what it looks like for them getting the same car that they've got, but these are the other two cars that they're most likely to trade into, right? A Civic customer is going to buy another Civic, most likely, or statistical probability they'd go into an HRV or an Accord. So why not give them a proposal for the three the second they can do it at a payment that makes sense to them? I think also Zillow, or your banking statement, or your stock portfolio if you have one, or your 401k. We're able to track our equity position in those assets, but we're not able to readily do that as a consumer in our industry. I think that's going to change. I think we're going to be able to have a tether to those customers, and for them to be alerted by us, and for them to alert themselves. Hey, I'm in equity. I could get one of these 3 cars. Wouldn't it be great if the customers could be calling us and say, "Hey, I notice I'm in equity, and I can get this car for this payment. I'd like to put down 5,000. What would that look like?" We'd have a better relationship.
Totally change the conversation.
Exactly. They're calling us. Hey, I can do this. I assume anytime a new iPhone comes out, I can get it for the same monthly payment.
Right.
Shouldn't that happen? What if that happens in automobiles? Shouldn't it be, hey, the new Accord's out, I just want to switch you out, get the new one? Well, the concept changes completely, and I think we can totally do that. Half a car did that with Ford, and the problem was at the time, Ford couldn't hold the residual on the 24 months. New to you every 2 was the mantra. New car for you every 2 years, new to you every 2. But when the cars were coming back, I think Ford was getting clobbered because somebody was overly aggressive on the 2-year residual. I'm sitting with a car that has perhaps the best resale value of any mass-produced car in the world, a Honda product. Maybe Toyota is there with us. So we're naturals for trade cycle management. We think,
for sure.
We think that we can really provide some value for customers. And imagine if you were able to provide that value for customers using AI at scale for your entire database. And imagine your database lighting up and automatically communicating. Well, I think with the integration that we're working very hard to complete, it's done, but we want it to be perfected. I think that we're really there in being able to.
If you go back and listen to Ernie Garcia say we didn't go grab market share, we found a new market because we changed the way that people buy and trade in their vehicles. And then you look at telecom going from 3 to 2 to 1 to 6 month cycles in their trade cycle management. Not just that, but giving access to affordability to the entire world. And then you triple down on that. And the biggest question for auto manufacturers and automakers is how do we increase the SAR so that we're not just constantly shifting market positions. You just increase trade cycle management. All of a sudden the SAR goes up and everybody just has to go get parts of that net new, new market. Right.
And you're creating that by showcasing the affordability. I'm tired of hearing, what's the guy from Cox, Jonathan Spoke? Man, he's doom and gloom to me all the time. The cars are $50,000. The average price of a car. The most expensive Honda we have is $50,000. We start at $25,000. And why are you talking to me about $50,000 cars? Nobody's paying $50,000. It's $399. It's $299. It's $199.
There's plenty of that out there.
Yeah. And so, I think the OEMs and dealers need to do a better job of showcasing just how affordable our cars are. And what drove up, Kyle, that high price, the high average price? People buying luxury cars.
Yeah, that's it.
That's an option, brother.
You got rich people out there and they want their cars.
And so the more people that are buying the Bentleys and the $200,000 Escalades and stuff, that's going to drive the price up. So there are alternatives out there.
Yeah, median and mean and a measured approach. I hit the wrong button, but Brian, as always, just an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. I'm now even more bullish about the market next year here in Utah, so I think people should consider in that direction. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time.
Thank you, Kyle.